6 psychological reasons you start avoiding people more as you get older, and why it's completely normal. As we get older, the tendency to avoid social gatherings can become more pronounced. This is not a sign of isolation, but rather a result of natural psychological changes over time. In this article, we will explore the psychological reasons behind why you may find yourself avoiding people more as you age. These reasons are not only understandable, but also completely normal. Now, let's take a closer look at the 6 main reasons that explain this phenomenon and why it's an inevitable part of growing older. 1. Prioritizing quiet and emotional stability. As people age, the brain's functioning undergoes a transformation that significantly affects how individuals approach social interactions and emotional experiences. In youth, the brain is highly focused on exploration, novelty, and social connection. This natural drive toward expansion is what fuels a desire to meet new people, form broad social circles, and constantly seek new experiences. This process helps develop identity, belonging, and a sense of community. However, as people grow older, the brain's priorities shift. The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for decision-making, social judgment, and impulse control, becomes more cautious. The amygdala, which processes emotions like anger and fear, becomes less reactive, allowing individuals to respond to emotional stimuli with less intensity. This neurobiological shift marks a transition from a focus on external novelty to prioritizing internal peace, familiarity, and emotional stability. This shift is neither a sign of decline nor a loss of cognitive function. Rather, it's an adaptive mechanism that reflects the brain's need to conserve energy. Older adults begin to gravitate toward quieter, more emotionally stable environments, avoiding situations that could provoke stress, anxiety, or emotional exhaustion. The tendency to withdraw from social gatherings or avoid small talk, for instance, isn't indicative of depression or isolation, but a natural result of the brain's efforts to preserve emotional resources. This refinement in social interactions is a sign of emotional maturity, as it reflects an increasing ability to discern which interactions are necessary for personal well-being. Rather than being a reflection of withdrawal or a lack of interest in others, this behavior signifies an intentional retreat toward what truly nurtures one's inner peace. 2. Becoming more cautious in relationships. Youth is often characterized by an openness and eagerness to form new connections. Many young individuals are inclined to believe that every relationship holds potential for closeness, personal growth, or meaningful bond, provided they invest the right amount of effort and sincerity. This idealism can sometimes lead to emotional wounds, as experiences such as betrayal, miscommunication, and misunderstanding unfold. Over time, these experiences accumulate, and individuals naturally become more discerning about who they allow into their personal lives. In later life, older adults become more adept at recognizing the nuances of relationships. They are better able to read people's emotions and intentions, and as a result, they can spot insincerity or potential emotional harm much more easily. Past experiences have taught them that not all relationships are worth maintaining, particularly those that drain energy or fail to offer genuine emotional fulfillment. This growing caution doesn't reflect cynicism or bitterness. Instead, it is a healthy defense mechanism born out of life experience. Rather than seeking superficial connections or engaging in relationships for the sake of social obligation, older individuals prioritize quality over quantity. They begin to value relationships that offer true emotional reciprocity, where mutual understanding, trust, and honesty are central. This phase of emotional discernment also leads to the establishment of stronger boundaries, as older adults become more skilled at protecting their emotional space. They choose to invest their energy in relationships that foster peace, authenticity, and a sense of shared understanding, rather than in relationships that feel transactional or draining. This caution in relationships is a reflection of wisdom gained over the years. It represents a transition from valuing social connection for the sake of belonging to cherishing relationships that truly nurture one's emotional well-being. 3. Realizing some conversations are meaningless. Another significant shift that occurs in later life is a deepened awareness of the value of communication. In younger years, people may find enjoyment in casual conversations, chit-chat, or engaging in polite exchanges simply to stay connected. However, as people age, they often become less interested in superficial dialogue. What once felt fulfilling or meaningful in social interactions now begins to feel hollow or emotionally draining. This shift can be attributed to a psychological phenomenon known as emotional selectivity. As people age, they begin to prioritize authentic and meaningful connections over the volume or frequency of social interactions. Casual, surface-level conversations that are devoid of depth no longer hold the same appeal. Instead, older adults begin to gravitate towards interactions that are genuine and where they can engage in more substantive discussions. The desire to exchange pleasantries or gossip diminishes, and the longing for deep, emotionally fulfilling conversations intensifies. Older individuals begin to recognize that not all interactions are worth their time and emotional energy. They understand that true connection is not about talking to as many people as possible or attending every social event, but about having moments of authentic presence. They may step away from gatherings where the conversation is forced, superficial, or filled with empty exchanges, preferring instead to spend time with those who listen, understand, and share mutual respect. This shift signifies an understanding that silence, or a quiet moment spent with one person, can be far more meaningful than a room full of people engaging in meaningless banter. For changing social roles mean you no longer feel like you belong in groups like you used to. Throughout life, many individuals find their sense of belonging tied to social roles, whether as a parent, teacher, colleague, community member, or friend. These roles give a person a sense of purpose and identity, and they naturally facilitate social connections. However, as people transition into later stages of life, many of these roles gradually fade. For example, retirement may reduce a person's involvement in work-related activities, or grown children may lead lives that no longer require the same level of parental involvement. As social roles disappear, individuals may begin to feel less connected to the communities or groups they once belonged to. This shift can be disorienting, as individuals may no longer find themselves participating in the social structures that previously defined their interactions. They may no longer attend work meetings, PTA functions, or community events. As a result, their identity, which was once shaped by these roles, becomes less tied to external activities and more centered on their internal sense of self. This transition is often accompanied by a period of introspection, as individuals seek to redefine their place in the world. It's a time to let go of old, role-based connections and to rebuild relationships that are based on shared emotional values rather than social obligations. While older adults may feel more detached from large social gatherings or group settings, this detachment is not a sign of emotional withdrawal, but rather an opportunity for more genuine, emotionally fulfilling interactions. They may prefer smaller, more intimate settings where they are valued for who they are, not for the roles they play. 5. Detachment from a need for social approval. As people grow older, a significant shift occurs in their relationship with social approval. During their younger years, many individuals are driven by a desire to fit in, conform to societal expectations, and seek approval from others. This need for external validation often shapes behavior, decisions, and relationships. However, with age comes a natural shift in perspective. Older adults begin to realize that true peace does not come from seeking validation from others, but from within. This detachment from a need for social approval is often accompanied by a growing sense of self-acceptance. Older individuals become less concerned with what others think of them and more focused on living authentically. They no longer feel the pressure to meet societal expectations or to please everyone they encounter. Instead, they prioritize their own emotional needs, knowing that true contentment comes from within. This freedom from external validation allows older adults to live more intentionally. They choose to engage in social interactions that align with their values, needs, and desires, rather than those driven by obligation or the desire to fit in. They may decline invitations, avoid small talk, or withdraw from social settings that don't serve their well-being, and do so with a sense of clarity and peace. This shift signifies emotional growth, as older adults realize they no longer need to perform for others or maintain an image in order to feel valued. 6. Valuing your energy and choosing to save it for what really matters. A crucial realization that often accompanies aging is the finite nature of one's emotional energy. In youth, people may feel they have endless reserves of emotional energy to give to friends, family, work, and social events. However, as they age, they become more aware that every interaction, no matter how small, requires a piece of their energy and attention. The need for self-care and emotional preservation becomes clearer, and older adults begin to evaluate their commitments and interactions more carefully. This realization leads to a natural filtering process, where older adults become more selective about where they invest their time and energy. They may opt to withdraw from large, impersonal gatherings or shallow social engagements that don't offer genuine emotional connection. Instead, they focus their energy on relationships and activities that provide true joy, fulfillment, and meaning. This careful selection of where to direct their emotional energy reflects a deepened sense of emotional intelligence. It represents a shift from external productivity and social validation to internal peace and quality relationships. The emphasis is no longer on being everywhere and doing everything, but on nurturing what truly matters, such as family, close friendships, and personal well-being. This process of emotional prioritization isn't a sign of selfishness. Rather, it's a sign of self-awareness and wisdom. Conclusion: the 6 themes explored in this video illustrate a fundamental shift that occurs as we age, one that involves the prioritization of emotional stability, authenticity, and meaningful connection. These changes reflect a deeper understanding of what truly brings happiness and fulfillment, moving away from external validation and shallow interactions toward a focus on quality, peace, and self-awareness. Rather than viewing these shifts as negative or isolating, they should be celebrated as signs of emotional growth and maturity, representing a more peaceful, intentional approach to life. So we've explored today's topic together. I hope these insights brought you some relaxing moments and useful information. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the A Gentle Message channel so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Wishing you a wonderful day. See you in the next videos.